I posted a video in 2023 about painting waterfalls from life. Now, water is a moving target, and I thought cascading water was one of the hardest things I'd ever tried to paint. Well, this year, during a painting trip to San Jose del Capo, Mexico, I found out that there is something out there that's even harder to paint than waterfalls. Something that never stops moving, undulating, changing, and crashing. I'm talking about ocean waves. In this video, I'm going to share some things I learned while painting waves from life using watercolors. This trip was unique for me in that it was the first time I'd ever traveled to an exotic location with a group of like-minded artists who all shared the simple goal of painting every single day. I'll explain my easel setup, colors I used most, and some tips and tricks that will hopefully make your next paintcation to the coast a little easier. Although I felt inspired and motivated by my fellow artists, they are all oil painters, and as the lone watercolor artist in our group of 6, I kind of had to make my own way in terms of techniques. There are some aspects of painting that definitely apply to any medium, but for the most part, my approach to painting waves was quite a bit different from Rose Bain, Daniel Sprick, Raj Chaudhuri, Jen Starling, or Tania LeClere Davis's painting styles. Let me briefly show you my plein air setup. I do have another video all about different plein air easels that I like to use, and the more you paint outdoors, the more you'll figure out what works best for you. But my handmade bamboo easel by Taylor Seamount has been my favorite for travel because it's so lightweight and easy to set up. I attach it to a cheap Amazon tripod with the paper block or panel sitting upright, slightly tilted back. The advantage to working upright and standing is that you can look at the scene in front of you and compare it to your painting much more seamlessly. You can also choose to work flat if you prefer, but regardless, you'll need to control how much water is in your brush. I hang my backpack on the center hook of the tripod to help weigh it down and prevent the tripod from blowing over. The paints I mainly used during this trip were my Rembrandt half pans. This is actually a curated portrait set, but I found that the phthalo green and cerulean blue phthalo were my go-to colors for that gorgeous blue sky and water. Other colors in the set, like the yellow ochre, burnt sienna, permanent red violet, and benzimidazzolone orange, were really great for the rocks and the sand. To my surprise, I also found myself dipping into the opaque white quite a bit to add those finishing touches like tiny droplets and splashes. For brushes, I brought along a large silver black velvet 3/4 inch cat's tongue oval wash brush, which was so great for quickly painting in the sky wet on wet. For smaller details, I used my Escoda and silver black velvet travel brushes, size 10 and 8. Other necessary supplies were a small metal tin for water, a spray bottle, paper towel, masking tape, a pencil, and clips for securing my paper to the board. For midday beach painting, I also used my Soho Artist umbrella for the first time, and if it wasn't too windy, this worked great for shielding my painting and myself from the hot sun. So let's start with the number one most important tip. This is one that applies to any medium. Settle on a composition before jumping in. There are a number of ways you can do this. For my first painting, because I felt somewhat unsure and it was my first time trying to capture a crashing wave, I took a bunch of short video clips on my iPhone. I found a shape I really liked where the wave was just beginning to crash and rise above these rocks, and I actually sketched the basic shape from the paused video. Once I had an idea for where I wanted my rock shapes and white water shapes to be, I could then set the photo aside and look at the real thing for the rest of the painting process. If you don't want to work from a photo at all, it's still a good idea to sketch your wave shape first, or rock shapes, or whatever shapes are going to be the main focus of your painting. Here, Dan Sprick blocked in his composition using vine charcoal in just a few decisive strokes. He figured out really quickly exactly where he wanted his wave shape to be, his lights, his darks, and his horizon line. Aim for a balanced composition with nothing too symmetrical or patterned, planning ahead for your darkest darks and your lightest lights. Don't place your horizon line where the ocean meets the sky, directly in the middle of your composition. Use the rule of thirds, or in some cases you may choose not to include the sky at all. Whatever you do, make sure the composition is interesting and beautiful to you before putting down any paint. Tip number 2 is to paint the sky first. Of course, this tip only applies if you are actually choosing to include the sky in your composition. Most of my paintings did have sky, so I started with that. The color you choose will depend on the time of day. For my first painting, it was just a couple of hours before sunset, so I included some red violet and yellow ochre in the sky. Generally, the sky will be lighter than your water, but if you want to have a big white splashing wave, you will need to paint around this when washing in your sky. Having a light sketch for what to paint around will definitely help. In many cases, your sky color can also serve as a first layer across the water, as you see here, with no clear distinction yet between sky and water. I do my skies wet on wet very quickly using the biggest brush I have. Really quick, if you're just getting started with watercolor, these concepts might still feel a little advanced, and that's okay. If you're looking for more thorough video instruction, check out my online school, Watercolor Mastery. Included in the membership is the 30 Days to Watercolor Beginners course, which will give you all the necessary skills to get started. You'll never have to ask yourself, what do I paint next? Because the membership includes weekly tutorials called the Daily Challenges that are released every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday for an entire year. These challenges are so much fun because they cover a huge variety of subject matter, including ocean scenes, while teaching you all the basics like sketching, choosing the right colors, paint application, and so much more. Watercolor Mastery has already helped thousands of students take their skills to the next level, like Vanessa, who says, I've been drawing and painting for years, but was too afraid to try watercolor or any color medium. At 43, I decided to try Watercolor Mastery. It changed my life. I wake up each day looking forward to learning something new. My sketches finally hold new meaning. Or Steven, who says, I've done so many tutorials from various instructors, but I've learned more from Watercolor Mastery than from any other teacher. The challenges are really fun, and there's always a great selection of subjects to paint. I started painting during the pandemic and have improved so much as a result of this instruction. There's a link in the description below if you'd like to learn more, or just head over to watercolormastery.com after this video. All right, on to tip number 3. Use masking tape for the ocean line. My secret to a perfect horizon line is artist tape. I just use Blick artist tape, and I always carry it with me in my travel pack. It comes in handy for any straight lines you need to make. Be sure to let your sky dry completely before applying the tape. You can then paint your ocean water without worrying about a crooked or messy line. Tip number 4, negative paint around the white waves and splashes. Although some whites can be added using opaque paint at the end, the majority of your whites should be created by simply avoiding these areas and letting the white of the paper shine through. Add some light touches of gray to give the look of shadows under the foaming water, but be careful not to go too dark with these. After all, it's a lot easier to go darker than it is to pull color back out. Number 5, spend time observing the ocean. Even though no two shapes ever perfectly repeat themselves in the ocean, if you take the time to watch closely and observe, you'll start to see a rhythm to the movement. You will see colors and light and shadow following similar motions. Let those fleeting glimpses make an imprint on your memory. It is necessary to use your memory to hold those visuals in your mind's eye as you make each painted mark. And if it feels way too advanced to try and paint a giant crashing wave, you might start by looking down the shoreline and painting the beach from the side. I find that painting waves from the side is much easier since the shapes just feel more manageable and you don't have the same confusing sparkles of light, shadows, and reflections on the water as each wave turns over when you're viewing them head on. This is a painting I did while on vacation with my family in Southern California. I was quite happy with it, but it was my second one after a very sad, failed painting I attempted while trying to look directly at the waves. You can also try focusing on the water rolling in on the shore after the wave has crashed. The wet sand and foamy edges of the water create some gorgeous colors. I see a lot of purple in the wet sand, and it's really fun to paint those ringlets and ellipses where the water is pushing and pulling. My last tip is something I'm borrowing from the one and only Daniel Sprick. I thought this advice was priceless. Just make up. When working from life, your painting will never be an exact copy of what you're seeing, nor should it be. Just make it up. Enjoy the adventure of being in nature, listening to the gentle rhythms of ocean and birdsong, feeling the breeze on your face, and being fully immersed in this unforgettable artistic experience. I learned so much from painting waves, and I hope this was helpful for you too. Thanks for watching, friends, and I'll see you again soon.